This spring, get out there, enjoy the weather, and recapture the magic of riding a bike with electric e-bike. With an amazing variety of models built for riders of all abilities, it's never been easier to fall in love with riding again. Go full throttle into spring with electric e-bikes, the number one selling e-bikes in the nation. Get your adventure started at lectricebikes.com and mention that WellRED sent you in the post-checkout survey. That's LECTRIC ebikes.com, and tell them WellRED sent you.
It's smooth, rich, chocolatey, and gentle on your stomach. It's so good, I even recommend drinking it black. It comes in 3 varieties, including what I promise is the best decaf you'll ever have. You can order now by scanning the QR code on your screen or by visiting Rudy.
They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread but sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck.
My back's fucked up.
It's not good.
No.
I'd say 85% of the mornings I wake up now, I have a stiff back. But no matter for a while, it was only when I slept in certain hotels, and I just blamed it on their beds. But now it happens. Now it happens here on my bed, which always super hit for me. All I got to do is get up and move around a little bit, and then it's totally fine the rest of the day. It doesn't bother me after that. But every morning when I wake up,
there's a halo hanging from the corner of my girlfriend's four-post bed. Yeah, so that's been my situation for a long time too. Like every morning, my back just don't hit, especially if me and Amber watch TV in the living room, and sometimes I'll pass out on the couch. And Lord, when I do that, but like you said, I just get up and walk around and I'm fine. But my back now is perpetually not hitting.
Don't hit. Are we going? We just gonna keep going?
We might as well. Drew's
I guess
not
we
here,
might as well. Yeah.
Because I did want to tell you, just because I thought it would kind of hit for you, the reason my back is screwed up, every injury I've had this year, which this is the most physically injured I've ever been in my entire life, the year 2024.
Okay.
The most, also, since I've had my kid, the most physically sick I've been. Like, I've just been a wreck. Like, Amber has been making fun of me, talking about how I'm falling apart. And I told her, I was like, well, I said, I hear you. It does seem like that, but this is also just the first year that I've ever gone to the doctor. So it's like, I've been fucked up in the past. I just never did nothing about it. And therefore it was not reported. And I didn't have to go to the pharmacy because I just suffered through it, But dude, so the wrestling injury was pretty comical, but this one, bro, like, I don't know. I know it's been a long time since you've had a toddler or an infant or whatever, but they got this new toy that's like all the rage, and they do love it. And it's basically just a square piece of like cloth, but inside of the cloth, it's got this material that you crinkle it and it makes this noise, and they love it. They love just holding it and doing this and just crinkling it. And it's just a square piece of it looks like a piece of a quilt, right? It's one of Bane's favorite things in the world. Well, he plays with it everywhere, kitchen, whatever. Well, usually Amber has cleaned up all his toys from the kitchen before at night, when it is my duty to wash all her bottles, get all her bottles ready for her to pump her titties in the morning, right? Well, I guess, and I'm not blaming this on her because, I also be cleaning them toys and shit, but she missed this thing in the kitchen, this tiny little piece of cloth, and I'm sitting here holding 2 breast milk titty bottles, and I'm scooting through the kitchen because I'm listening to music and shit. And bro, I slipped on it literally like a in a cartoon when
banana peel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
whoop, and your leg goes up in the air. And,
yes.
Yeah. Did you throw the things you were holding? Did you let go of them?
I somehow held on to them, but because I had things in my hand and I wasn't it's like the first time I've ever fell and didn't even a little bit break my fall with something else. Right. You know what I mean? I consider myself not a great athlete, but I've always been athletic enough to where if I slip, I can avoid it really fucking me up too bad because I can brace my fall. Dude, nothing. I just fell directly on my lower back. Ugh. And I have been right now now I'm on pills. Which I think which hits, but this is the first time I've ever really taken pain pills for the reason that you should take pain pills, which means I'm convinced I'm going to get addicted because that's how it happens. And you told
I mean, I think it also does happen the other way. It's
Not
just
for
that,
me.
like, well, right, but it's more tragic and heartbreaking when it happens that way. When it's just a regular person who went to the doctor, got prescribed something. I met this guy once who was like an all-state basketball player, messed his ankle up in a game, went to the doctor. 3 years later, he's sucking dick for heroin or whatever instead of being in college. Like, that's brutal.
Yeah.
But also people just take them to hit and then end up sucking dick for heroin too. Like, it does, that does also happen.
They do. But I'll tell you what part does hit for me. I was like, damn, I can't believe I'm actually finna take some pills. I ain't taken pills in a long time. I was like, damn, I can't believe I'm about to take some pills. And like, immediately as I was about to take them, you texted the group and you're like, hey, I need y'all to bone up on this Kid Rock Rolling Stone article because I want to talk about it. And I was like, man, it's like it was meant to be for me to get my hands on these fucking oxycodones today.
Yeah, that is some kismet right there. It's like you get an assignment. Yeah. Look into Kid Rock, right? If you take pills for the first time in your life.
I'm in the right headspace, baby.
For a test.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So,
since you brought it up.
Well, hey, before we do that though, because I feel like that might take the whole episode, I did want to share something that Drew probably saw, but I doubt Trae did because he's not constantly on the internet like we are. I thought that we should promote our main man, Rudy Giuliani, because he now has gotten into the coffee game. I wanted y'all to see this ad for Rudy. Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
You all know I stand by the truth. And if I put my name on something, I truly believe in it. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to something I'm incredibly proud of. My own brand of organic specialty coffee, Rudy Coffee. Believe me when I say it's the best coffee you'll ever try. It's smooth, rich, chocolatey, and gentle on your stomach. It's so good, I even recommend drinking it black. It comes in 3 varieties, including what I promise is the best decaf you'll ever have. You can order now by scanning the QR code on your screen or by visiting rudy.coffee. By supporting Rudy Coffee, you're not just treating yourself to exceptional coffee, you're also supporting our cause, the cause of truth, justice, and American democracy. You'll also be supporting the Call to Action nonprofit, which is devoted to helping veterans and first responders, so you can make a difference and taste the difference by ordering today at rudy.coffee.
I saw somebody.
I stand by the truth. And if I put my name on something,
okay, you got it.
I saw somebody on.
Play it through till he says that about even the black stuff.
I even recommend it black.
It's so funny. I saw somebody on Twitter say, man, he really missed an opportunity not calling it Grounds Zero. Which
that's a good point.
That is a good one. But I did think it was funny. I was like, how is he not standing in front of the fucking Twin Towers? But anyways, guys, here's the deal. Yeah, probably not. Anyways, here's the deal, guys. Like, you might not agree with Rudy Giuliani. I know I don't on everything. But he said it there in black and white. If you drink this coffee, you are supporting truth and democracy. And God damn it, if we can't get behind truth and democracy, then who the fuck are we? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Dude, the culture of coffee's place in the culture war is wild.
It's insane.
It is.
I got a great report from Scott County that I'll tie into this in a moment. But you guys obviously know about Black Rifle.
I was going to say, I wonder what Black Rifle thinks about this new on. This is like a direct competitor there. I mean, I'm sure they're going to wipe the floor with Rudy
This
Coffee.
is a perfect example, though, of like, we do a thing. I don't know why I'm saying we. I feel divorced from this. Although.
How coffee used to be queer?
It is still.
It still is.
Yeah.
We do a thing badly. And then in my opinion, they do it worse. I'm walking through my kitchen right now. I'm going to see.
But see, that's kind of the whole idea with Black Rifle Coffee, isn't it, Corey? It's like, hey, you want coffee, but you're not
not gay? Yeah,
right.
Here's the exact same thing, except for
but it's got guns on it. Yeah, right.
Not queer.
But like,
yes.
But I used to think it was like, because baristas in Portland make coffee.
Yes,
right.
Me too.
Because I didn't drink a lot of coffee, and when I interacted with coffee, it would be at a coffee shop with a queer.
Right.
Correct.
But my dad didn't know those people existed.
Of course.
Other than
a cup of Joe, not gay.
Right. So he there was no
Culture's in
reason
your
to
cup,
rail against that. What I'm realizing is it's not that. It's walking through the stores and seeing the word equal on a coffee bag let's take back our food system. Now I want you guys to know this is coffee Andy got from a co-op. The bag isn't a brand of coffee. It's an exchange. It is a cooperative. You can get multiple types of coffee there, grind it yourself, and then put it in this bag.
That's like the gayest coffee there is.
Well, I was going to say, I will acknowledge that while I believe in like cooperatives and small farms, which is what like this brand is pimping, this is like, look at the fist.
Yeah.
This is
Come on.
super on the nose.
I thought it was like black rifle don't matter or something.
This
like when I saw the
definitely-
fist.
This is definitely Black Lives Coffee. And by that, we mean the farmers were ripping off. Anyway, I think that, like, this is fair play. It's just that they do it so on the nose. There's no art when they do it.
Right.
I mean, that's goofy. That's corny. What I just showed you guys is corny. But, like, Rudy seems like satire.
Yeah, it does. I saw somebody else. I think the tweet that I saw it from originally actually was like, this had the energy of a Tim and Eric sketch, and I watched it waiting for the shoe to drop. And I was like, I kind of did too, because like it almost looked like he was in front of a green screen in the shot where he's just supposed to be in a regular house. You know what I mean? Right.
100% is.
Right. So it's like Rudy couldn't. He's like, I can't be in a normal house. Just put me in front of green screen and put a normal house behind me.
Not being able to tell if they're serious or not is like one of their defining characters. Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's what we're always getting into with Mark in the text thread.
Right.
Like Mark, he's got this whole thing where it's like he's the smartest dude any of us know, but he also like
comically stupid at certain things.
But then sometimes it goes. Like
it's the papa.
Yeah, right. So for people that listen, what we mean is like he will get took by like
he eats the onion a lot.
He eats the onion a lot. He'll get took by like fake stories or satirical things, making fun of like conservative shit. And he thinks it really is a real conservative really saying this, and it's not a joke or whatever. He believes it. And I think it's just because I sort of relate to it, I guess, because we've talked before about how like, because I was a smart kid in Salina, I'm very condescending, or I especially used to be really condescending. And I know Trae
still are, but used to too. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I just
Big
thought,
head burn.
I thought everyone was so much dumber than me, right? Yeah. I feel like that's
most
happening.
People are.
I feel like that's happening with Mark. Anytime any kind of conservative stuff comes up, he's like, he just thinks they're so dumb that there's like,
he gives them zero credit.
There's nothing he won't believe that they would do, like with complete sincerity or whatever, no matter how absurd it is. And there's been multiple. Can y'all think of any specific examples? Because it's happened multiple times.
Hooters guy.
Well, yeah, that guy, that dude.
He just recorded a podcast with Antonio Brown, by the way. I wasn't going to bring it up, but you just said it. I can't fucking wait.
See, that dude, Nick Adams, alpha male, that's his name, and his occupation, I guess. He's professional alpha male. But he,
Nick Adams, alpha male.
Yeah, it's on his business card. But he, like, I think that guy does, like, feel that way about that stuff and believe all that shit or whatever, but he's hitting. He's leaning into the bit also.
Us.
Yeah.
Yes, but I do think he is that kind of person, though.
Of course.
Like, I don't think it's like fake.
Yeah, but the question I thought was always whether or not he was trolling.
And Mark doesn't think he is. Mark is convinced, and he gets mad at us for thinking otherwise, but he's convinced it's completely sincere, no irony or anything, or winking or tongue-in-cheekness to it at all. It's all completely sincere. But they've made it that people, this is an ongoing societal concern. I feel like it's, there's Poe's law is what they call it on the internet, where it's like
which is Raven.
Any significantly, what is it? It's like any significantly satirical take on an extremist position will be undistinguishable to other people from the actual thing itself.
Because to be fair to Mark, like, dude, who's that bitch with the dog that she shot? And then later in the
Christy Nome.
Christy Nome. There was a lot of stuff in that even I thought, I was like, wait a minute.
Bitch with the dog she shot. It's mom. Mom.
There was some stuff even in that I was like, wait a minute. This, though, I know that she really shot a dog and admitted to it, but this right here, it has to be a parody account. That's not really her response. And I would look it up, and it really was her saying it. So, like, to defend Mark, a little bit, I get it in certain instances, but with the Nick Adams, like it almost seems like just like so clear. Now, Trae, I think this is actually the better segue into what we want to talk about today, because this whole
Yep.
like
Yes.
leaning into it and
Right.
whether this person does believe this, but do they believe this to this point, and are they trolling
Right.
us, was heavily featured in
Yes.
the Rolling Stone article
right.
about one Bob Ritchie.
Let me
Yes,
do
Kid
my
Rock.
Scott County report. That's also on this topic.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
No, it's fine.
We need a sound for a Scott County report. I
Yeah,
lost
or
my
like a
card.
little
Dun,
graphic
dun,
or
dun,
something.
dun, dun, but instead of that noise, it's
Yeah.
like a foghorn leghorn noise.
Yeah, I'll
Mhm.
work on something. You give me your artistic, input, please. But
I trust you artistically and personally with this one.
cool.
All right. We're gonna start from the beginning. It's gonna take me about 3 minutes to get through this, so bear with me, everybody. A few years ago, some people moved here from Portland or outside of Portland.
Carpetbaggers.
They were like, they started a coffee shop.
Okay.
And they roast their own, and it's like $5 a cup, and everybody was like, it's not going to work. And it was doing okay at first. And then they wrote this op-ed that the worst person in the world who runs the newspaper here just let them put it in the paper. Like, this is an op-ed. It was an ad.
Right.
And it was an ad for who they are.
Right.
And it was literally like, just so you guys know, we moved here because we love God and football.
Oh, God. Football.
And I mean, like, again, going back to what we were just talking about, pretty much literally that's what it said. We're tired of all the liberals in Oregon. And we love it here because we love being in a place that loves the country and honors God.
Mm-hmm.
But we miss coffee. We miss coffee shops. Basically, it was like, listen, I know they're the worst, but the one thing them queers have figured out.
Yeah.
And by the way, they're paraphrasing my father when me and Andy got him expensive coffee.
Yeah, so far they're spitting.
We blew my dad's mind when we got him expensive coffee.
Yeah.
He still won't get it, but he like hints that he wants us to all the time.
But he will admit, like, okay, I get it. This is good
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Because he just likes it strong and you double roast anyway. So they wrote this big op-ed. I mean, it's unbelievable. I wish I had it. Sorry, I got burps. I'm drinking Topo Chico. We got that at Walmart here now, too. Anyway. Wrote this big op-ed. It was basically like, that's why we came here, to love God and country, and we wanted to bring coffee to this community. And then they took over. Changed the game. Started opening up multiple locations.
Yeah,
They now put their own beans in the stores here. It's like got its own special rack, that they built out of freedom.
Yeah.
Well,
red, white, and blue metal and shit.
They, of course, treat their employees like shit.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well,
they love God and country.
Yeah. So this girl here, Andy, what's her name? Andy, what's the coffee girl's name? Leandra.
White girl?
Leandra. Ain't that a Scott County ass name?
Yeah.
If it's a white girl,
If it's a white girl, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I
Well,
said
then
Scott
it's a very Scott County name. Yes.
Y'all think there's
exactly,
black
yes.
people in Scott County? Oh, bless your heart.
No, I don't. That's why.
Isn't
Yeah.
this the lady
That's
who
why the
moved
people
there?
from Oregon moved here. That was their first question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You guys like black coffee but hate black people?
Right.
Anyway.
We're in.
So Leandra is working there.
Okay.
And as I recall, she was like thinking about she wanted to do like a travel coffee trailer. And she
Like
had learned how to,
like a food
make
truck?
coffee
Food
from
truck?
them.
Yeah.
Like a food truck for coffee. She wanted to like go see the world or whatever.
Did you know, real quick, that's how it's pretty? I don't know about introduced, but that's how coffee got popularized in a lot of other. Actually, it was mostly donuts, but they had in World War II, America sent trucks over there to the front that had coffee and donut trucks, and
Chinese people.
That became a thing over there, especially in the UK, like donut shops with coffee and that sort of thing. Like that got introduced.
Are you
through
telling
World
me
War II.
America took coffee to Europe?
I don't know. The donuts part, I know they introduced donuts to Europe, but it also was paired with coffee. So I'm saying that pairing like a Dunkin' Donuts situation, that concept, a coffee shop with donuts in it, or donut shop with coffee, whatever you want to call it, that was introduced to Europe in World War II in the trucks. Because the coffee.
Next time
How
I fight
did that
French
get over
person,
there? Did that come from the New World?
slavery.
Coffee, yeah.
but
Coffee came from the East India Trade Company. They sort of picked it up along the way, brought it back to London and stuff like that.
but
I
from
am
the
right.
New World, like Americas, like is
No.
coffee indigenous to Americas, or where'd it come from?
No.
There's beans.
Colombia.
That's the Americas.
homie.
Oh, I thought you said I thought you said
No,
America.
the Americas, the New
Oh,
World.
Coffee is not indigenous to this hemisphere now. I don't know about then. I know they grow it. Like Africa has coffee now. I don't know.
All I know
Coffee
is
grown worldwide can trace its heritage back centuries to the Ethiopian plateau.
there you go. So East India Trade Company goes down there, is like, oh, blacks don't hit. The stuff they're drinking does hit. Brought it back, and then that's how, we talked about on POA, Lloyd's of London got started in that coffee shop because they were like, it's a bit stronger than tea, isn't it? Ooh, look at that shit.
Well, next time I fight a French person, I'm telling them we did it. So,
so tomorrow.
She's like wanting to do the food truck thing or whatever. Gets a trailer, starts it up, and like plants it here. And then I guess, I don't know if she decided not to travel or if what happened next spurred it. These people go nuclear. They start like getting on Facebook, and without using the legal terms, they're like essentially trying to claim like, now I've forgotten the legal words. Not like copyright, but like if you have an employee that works for you,
yeah,
and if you make them sign a covenant not to compete or something.
Oh yeah, non-compete clause.
They're basically trying to argue like with the language that has like, we taught her everything she knows, and now she's backstabbing us and all these things. And what these people fail to consider is that they're Yankees.
Right.
You want to talk about your all-time backfires.
Oh, I guarantee it.
They nearly had to close their satellite location down, and they gave her the most free advertising. The whole county was talking about the coffee wars. The whole county. You couldn't go to a Hardee's without somebody talking about how these bastards from Oregon came in here and were against, what do we love more than God and country? Free market fucking capitalism.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention locals over Yankees every time.
Every fucking time. It don't matter the situation.
So then they had to write another op-ed about how they had all made up, none of which was true.
Right.
These people they're Tiny Black Rifle. I mean, they built their whole brand on, we came here because we hated coastal elites. Aren't you guys, don't you love us? And then someone else had the audacity to open up another coffee shop, and she used to work for them.
Yeah.
So they were like, she ripped us off and all this other stuff. And then, to the people around here's credit, even though coffee's relatively new to them, they were like, so you're telling me that making a cup of coffee,
that's you,
that she stole that from y'all?
Yeah. Yeah. So they basically,
people who refuse to drink $5 coffee, gas station coffee exclusive papaws,
right,
were sitting in line to get her coffee.
Hell yeah.
They reversed the culture war on themselves
because they ended up becoming the culture, the coastal elites that they claim to hate.
That they are.
That they are. It always
These
fucking
are
happens
rich
that
people.
way.
They came here and bought like 5 buildings off the top, dog.
Right. They were like, that's the thing, is it's not that they hated Portland. It's just that they couldn't afford to do what they wanted to do in Portland, but they could afford to do it in Scott County.
It's also that they give a fuck about God or country. They came here, looked around, saw 1 million billboards and bumper stickers, and was like, I know how we can sell some shit.
Right.
I mean, it's what we claim we could do easily all the time.
Yeah,
they did that with coffee.
Did you take a screenshot of a Facebook post and thread it about this subject? Okay.
Yeah.
I knew. I was like, either he did that or I heard a similar small town story from like
there's the Salina coffee.
Salina, yes, where somebody tried to claim ownership of. I couldn't remember if it was coffee or just like making food or whatever. I just remembered something about that. But anyway, y'all, a few years ago, my sons, it was time to teach them to ride a bike, right? And I hadn't thought about bikes in years. And I got my son's bikes, and that's a magical moment for a father getting their son riding a bike when they don't need the training wheels, and you push them off, and there they go. It swells your heart with pride and everything. And so much so that I was like, you know what? I want a bike too. I want to share this with them even more. I want to get me a bike. Before that, I would have never thought to get a bike, but dad stuff will do that to you. So I go and get a bike. And next thing I know, I'm fully in love with it again. You will not believe how much your inner child is thrilled at the notion of riding a bike again. And I'm not just saying that. Wind in your hair, wind in your face, sun shining
Farting and
down
it
on
goes
you.
away.
Farting, it goes away. It's all, riding a bike is truly magical. We've all, as adults, many of us have forgotten that, but it's true. This spring, get out there, enjoy the weather, and recapture the magic of riding a bike with an electric e-bike with an amazing variety of models built for riders of all abilities. It's never been easier to fall in love with riding again. Plus, every electric e-bike ships free and only requires quick, tool-less assembly. Go to lectricebikes.com to discover e-bikes that start at just $7.99 with the XP Lite and tell them WellRED sent you. Drew, you got electric e-bike. Does it hit?
Buddy, you captured exactly how I feel about it. I mean, I've been racing the town janitor's bike for the last 3 weeks, and I don't know if he knows we're racing, but I know we are. And when I get tired, I just hit the e-bike thing. I go just as fast. He don't know I'm not pedaling, and I just take a little break. I love my e-bike. I can't believe I ever had a regular bike ever. I think we should only do e-bikes from now on.
Yeah, here's some reasons why. You can get up to 150 miles on one charge. You can also get financing as low as $49 a month. You save on gas, parking, maintenance. They got added safety, convenience, and control with their accessories and durable features. Anybody can ride with all the different models they got. They got the XP Lite, zippy and affordable, a great start to any e-bike journey. Or you can go up a notch with the XP Trike, the first fully foldable and fully assembled electric tricycle with enough torque for hefty payloads, if you know what I mean. Go full throttle into spring with electric e-bikes, the number one selling e-bike in the nation. Get your adventure started at lectricebikes.com and mention that WellRED sent you in the post-checkout survey. That's LECTRIC, ebikes.com, and tell them WellRED sent you.
So the culture, anyway, we can move on to the article now, because I think the article, we're going to get into this, which is the culture war can be very lucrative, but it can quickly turn on you because it's basically religion. You have to be pious. If you're going to go that route, this happens on the left too. This is one of the things where there is a little bit of both sides of, like, if you dabble in the culture war, it can turn on you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially if you're an outsider from a place like Portland, and in Scott County. Anyway,
or a suburb of Detroit.
Right. Yes, like one Bob Ritchie, Kid Rock. So, for y'all that don't know what we're talking about, he gave an interview with Rolling Stone magazine and got pretty wild, according to the journalist, a guy named Peisner. Was that his name, Peisner? I think,
sure,
something like that. Who went to interview him, said that he was hammered drunk. He was drinking white wine. Then he switched to bourbon and Coke. This is all in the afternoon. He's being hostile and aggressive.
David Peisner
being hostile and aggressive the whole time. Kid Rock is. At one point, pulls out a gun, waves it in his face, screams the N-word repeatedly, and goes on a bunch of like hate-filled tirades. Now,
at least he's not a hypocrite.
Right, but yes.
Reading the article, like all of everything Trae just said is true and a very accurate takeaway of the article. But when you read the full article, I hate to say this, but like there's a tiny bit of nuance to it, a little bit. You know what I mean? Like
I think the nuance is worse. It's
I agree.
Very obvious that he's miserable.
No, I agree. But I'm just saying, like, it's weird in the sense of like by talking to him, the interviewer sort of points out that, like, yes, Kid Rock is the type that will flash a gun around, will say the N-word a bunch, and will get into argumentative politics. However, it kind of made it clear that he's like, I don't know where the line between Kid Rock and Bob Ritchie are, if there is one anymore, and also how much of this is performative, how much Kid Rock is in on the bit and we're not, whatever the fuck. But like, then you read with all these, you read all these other Detroit rappers that Kid Rock was friends with. And a lot of them who are black, they're like, do I think that Kid Rock is an outright racist? No, I think he's a huge dickhead. They're like, and the Kid Rock that you're seeing today is not the Kid Rock that I grew up with, is not the Kid Rock that I was doing stuff with in the 90s. And someone even made the point, and by the way, I'm not saying that this justifies Kid Rock and makes him a good person. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to go more on your point, Drew, of that he is lonely and miserable, because basically a lot of them were saying like, this is just him not being able to handle the fact that this is the only way he can get in the fucking news, and that we're a decade removed from his last actual hit where he earned notoriety through his music.
But that all makes it worse to me.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
like that nuance to me is like, you weren't taught this.
Right.
You didn't come up feeling this. This isn't who you are.
Right.
This is who you're pretending to be for some reason. I do believe there's some part of him as a person that genuinely hates what he perceives as like a tightening of morality around like what you say and do. This was a dude who, Josie.
Right.
Strippers on stage.
Hits.
Like, this was a dude who liked to, like, I think genuinely liked to, like, be wild or whatever.
Yeah, rock
or at
and
least
roll.
pretend to be. Do rock and roll, right. And now you can't fuck 17-year-old girls. And, you can, but you're going to get called out for it on the internet. There's a lot of dudes that age. Dave Chappelle comes to mind in some ways where it's like, man, you guys really hate the idea of anyone critiquing you so bad.
Right.
That you'll become worse.
Right.
To like prove a point about it. And that makes me think that your critics were completely correct about you.
Right.
That's my
that you are small and like you're somehow worse almost than the racist you're pretending to be who follow you now, or the transphobes you're pretending to be who follow you now, because at least they believe it. Like, I don't know if I believe that, but there's a part of me that's like, at least these people have a principle.
Right.
And I found it pathetic. I found it like, but here's the thing, what he's smart about, and he even said this, I think, this is only going to help him, because
of course
the highlights are only going to be the takeaway, which is that, see, Sonny's had the total jet. Fucking liberal magazine comes in there showing his gun, saying N-word, because he don't change for nobody, and at least
it was calculated.
Honest.
Yes. So
but the thing is about the performative thing, and then I'll stop. It is all performative. Like, that's all this is. It is genuinely easy to wave a gun around and say the N-word. The dumbest people I've ever met who can't hold down a job or keep a woman, I've seen them do it. But people will call him brave for that. But it is literally the easiest thing in the world to do if you're Kid Rock, to get drunk in the afternoon, wave a gun around and say the N-word.
Yeah.
The idea of masculinity in this country is so far removed from reality and so fragile. And I don't know how we keep doing it. Like, I don't know what's happening where we can't. It kind of reminds me of the Travis Kelce conversation we had a few weeks ago. Like, I don't know why we can't win that. At the very least, why we can't get people to realize all these brash, loud 50-year-olds are pitiful.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. And he did come off as pitiful, especially there towards the end of the article when, the feller was basically like, when they were on the Kid Rock, finally, after making him watch 10 or 12 YouTube videos of him hitting, it agrees to drive him back to his car or whatever. And Kid Rock asks him, he's like, do you like my house? And the interviewer sort of points out, he's like, this is the first time I saw any vulnerability. And like, I have to admit, I didn't want to hurt his feelings. And that said to me that, like, after all of that shit, he's still just like, I like to argue with people because I'm fucking right. And it's like, no. You want to be loved by 53% of America, and you don't give a shit how it is, because you are very sad and you need people to just be like, look at that badass, even though you're fucking 53 and you're not a badass anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been pointed out a million times about Kid Rock, but it's still no less true that he's like, his dad owns dealerships, bro, or whatever, right? Like, literally, his dad was like a dealership magnate in the Detroit area. He like grew up in a mansion with a tennis court in the back and that type of stuff in the Detroit suburbs. And so, rich privileged Yankee, adopting the Confederate flag and the trash, branding. But like, and that was always weird to me, even when I liked Kid Rock, and even when he hit for me, knowing he was from Detroit, him having, always a pet peeve of mine, as Choa said, you're appropriating our racism. Like,
Right.
it never hit for me, a Yankee rocking the Confederate flag, even when I did like him. But like, in recent years, it's like, I mean, he don't seem to be not trash. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like in terms of
At a certain point, when
like
you
he's been
pretend to be
faking it
something
for so long, at a certain
you are
point,
that.
you just kind of become that actual thing. But it still does annoy me knowing that it's all like just bullshit from the beginning, however real it might be now. And then in reading that article and that whole thing, and him at the end, like Drew said, he's like, write the worst article you can. It's only going to help me out. And knowing that he's probably is right about that, given his base or whatever, it makes it seem like I go back and forth on how calculated any or all of it is. Do you know what I mean? Like from him, because I don't want to give him too much credit. It's like, it's just as simple as him realizing I've got a trash fan base. I should dive into being trash. It's also funny to me to think that like he really genuinely wishes, like it's funny. You remember that line in Only God Knows Why, where he's talking about like the working man or whatever. And he's like, I wish I had that life. I bet you wish you had mine or whatever. Like, I bet he genuinely wishes he could have like actual trash credentials or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that's, like whatever. I may be a huge queer and he's a, trash icon, but he'll never be a legit piece of fucking trailer trash like I am, no matter what he does.
Well, as bullshit as that line, as bullshit as that line is to think about, like, especially if you're someone with no money, where it's like all this rich rock star talking about how, if we switch lives, you would understand that I have it hard too. I think it coming from the context of like, that was on the heels of his, like, he just really found huge success, right? And he's super young. And I do think there's at least a little
I get. Look,
no, I get. That's what I was trying to say. That I get it.
You shouldn't probably put it in a song because it's never going to come across. But I get the idea of like thinking like longing for the grass is always greener. The simple life. God, this shit is so everybody's so full of shit. I'm surrounded by sycophants and yes people and everything. And all this.
And when you're
sometimes I wish I just had a regular job and a wife and kids and a house in the suburb.
Like, I bet he felt it. Yeah,
it's also a good artistic move because he's saying like, hey, your life has dignity, fans of mine.
Right.
So much so that
that song rules.
I mean,
God knows why.
Really, y'all know the song "Love Yours" by J. Cole? It's kind of similar. About that message.
I've always said they were basically the same
the whole time. I mean, I'm saying like no one's gonna.
He's
like,
J. Cole slaw.
No one's gonna like shit on J. Cole for it. I don't think it's kind of the same idea. But
no. There's been so many artists that like it, and it usually comes on like their sophomore album because you can't put it on your freshman album because you don't know it yet. But like, there's been so many artists that on their sophomore album have lamented. Like, hey, just so you know, be careful what you wish for because you might just get it. And it's not all glory and it's not all whatever. And like, but now with Kid Rock, if you're reading this article, it's so funny because like, whether he knows it or not, he basically disproved cancel culture being the huge problem that he always purports it to be. Because like, they were talking about how, it took them a long time to set this interview up because he kept telling them no and shit like that. He's like, nah, whatever, I don't need it. And then many times in that article, he just said, like, he goes, I don't mind saying this shit because fuck, what are they going to do to me? What can you do to me? And then he would like sort of motion out to all his land and all the shit that he had. And at one point that he would, I can't remember the exact line, but he basically was like, the whole time I thought, I don't need this Rolling Stone article because look at everything I have. Like, he basically was saying I can't be touched, which is like the opposite of what they think is like, they're going to take away everything from me because I used to tour with a midget.
Yeah, but what Chappelle did it the best. Trump does it pretty well. What they did, though, was man, boys, we've been talking about this since our book.
Yeah.
If you go back to our book, there is this point we make in a few different places. The prime example I can think of is religious people in small towns who are the majority in their world, who have all the power in their state, but have convinced themselves that they're an underdog minority because movies hate them or because the
persecution
TV show will
complex.
embrace them. Yes. Dave Chappelle did it the best I've seen anyone do it that I've paid attention to. The point I'm making is you are right, Corey, but he can easily claim, and they set this up from the beginning, they were like, "We will win. If you all join me, we will beat cancel culture."
Right.
And by the way, they now believe that they have. I mean, I sent you guys that clip of that comic in tears calling Shane Gillis a hero because he said retard on SNL. And like, it blew my mind. Not that like the dude was happy about it, but that like he was like emotional.
Yeah.
He literally said, "Shane Gillis, you're a great American." They convinced their audience not only that cancel culture was real, but that we have to beat it.
Right.
So they now are claiming victory over it. They aren't very good at winning, so they all have to figure that out. I am way less interested in Kid Rock specifically and way more interested in what this all means and is like going on in our culture. He is grasping for irrelevance, but we are now at minute 38. We probably spent the last 10 or 15 on him.
Yeah.
Because it represents, I think, the dark side of Gen X. I'm not super sure. I haven't thought enough about it.
I agree with
like
that.
it's dealings with masculinity, but like Kid Rock can only stay relevant this way.
Yeah.
And
he kind of admits it.
Right. And I find that pathetic. And
it is pathetic.
But I don't understand why his fans don't. Like, I don't understand, and maybe I'm missing something because I'm not one of them. I don't understand why people who like him aren't like, I'm more of a Morgan Wallen. Like, like there are other people who are doing it a new way. I don't know why this hasn't faded.
Trump, well, because, dude, in my opinion, it's how close him and Trump actually are. Like, Trump talks about him a lot. Like, that's why, like, they like Trump, and if Trump signs off on this motherfucker, then
why did no one replace Trump as a politician, too? I've also, like, had struggle with that.
Because he's the GOAT.
You can't coach
dog.
He
was born with it.
I wanted to say about the premeditated thing, Trae. I don't want to give him too much credit either. I don't think it was pre-planned as much as this is his move.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he's done it before.
Does.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. And I mean, now going back to what you were saying, like, I could be wrong on this, but all these people, like the dude crying over Shane Gillis and shit, when they say like cancel culture
I watch that video every 2 weeks, dude.
It's funny as shit.
It's the funniest fucking video I've ever seen.
Please tell me if I'm wrong. I don't mind being wrong, but like, I don't look at that as like y'all have beaten cancel culture. I look at that as y'all proving that it's never been a thing like you say it is.
But then that would invalidate what they've been mad about and their whole identity.
Right. I know. But like, to me, it validates me and going like, see, I told you it wasn't shit. Like, it wasn't fucking shit. Like, all it is like, because there's some dudes who like Bill Burr, like, I can't say enough good things about him comedically and how he, as a 50-something-year-old man, has handled all of this shit because like, he's so fucking easily could go down the road of Chappelle, the road of Kid Rock, and maybe and look, maybe Bill Burr actually does feel a lot of that inside of him, but he's like, I gotta be fucking original. I can't do the same shit. But like, Bill Burr has like constantly been on the forefront of like, just say whatever the fuck you want to say. Just say that shit, and if someone gets mad, fuck them. And he's been fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, he is a 50-something-year-old white dude, and I'm sure he will openly be annoyed at like barista-y type,
of course,
liberal, whatever. Like, he'll do that, but I'm
me
saying,
too.
Like, I know, right? Yes, but I'm saying I don't think he. I mean, his wife, when she flipped Trump off at that UFC fight or whatever, it's like I don't think that he's like holding back from any thing, really. Like, I think that. I think pretty much with him, what you see is what you get. I feel like he's pretty much on Front Street with all of it. So when he says, like, no, I'm with the college kids talking about the Gaza protests or whatever, I mean, I think that's what he means. And I think like he ain't playing no kind of game, I don't think.
Right.
I think he just like genuinely keeps it real. And
no, I do too.
That makes him hit for people on both sides, And then some people on the right think he's like a champion of theirs. And
some think he's a champion of liberals now.
Yeah, because go ahead.
I was just saying, he even did make some complaints about like cancel culture where he was like, it's making us tighter. Like, he acknowledged that it was having an effect on comedy without being like a huge fucking baby about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it is having an effect. It's just
here's the thing.
Effect is
he's not a pussy.
He's not a pussy.
The thing about being back here that I'm observing is there are people here who are like very different than me in terms of their beliefs and blah blah blah, and some of them are cool, and some of them are huge fucking pussies. It's unbelievable, and then I think that is what Kid Rock is connected with this stuff. Is he's just a pussy, man.
Dude, I feel that way all the time. And again, I'm willing to be wrong, but like a lot of my friends, and yes, I still have a lot of conservative friends, like all of us do, because like, you know, I don't know if it's just a Southern thing, but like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there have been some friends of mine that have done some things that were so way over the line that I'm like, I don't really consider them a friend anymore. You know, I just can't be near that person. But I've got some people who are like very conservative, very like, you know, cancel culture, fuck this bullshit. And like so many times when we're talking, I'm like, how is it not coming across right now that you're being the pussy and I'm not? You know what I mean? Like it's so to me, it's so clearly the opposite. And like they'll talk about it to me, and I'm like, guys, you know that I'm actually the comedian that is dealing with it, and I'm telling you that it's not that big of a deal. Why the fuck wouldn't you trust me? You don't know shit. Like, I'm the one. They're like, man, it must be really hard for you. And I keep going like, honestly, not much has changed. I've kind of said the same shit that I've always said. That might be because like I never wanted to make some like two Mexicans walk across the street joke. You know, I don't know. But like y'all are really getting mad on my behalf when I'm telling you that like it's not a big deal. Just say whatever the fuck you want. And if you cross the line, just say, my bad, I won't do it again.
Did you see that like Jerry Seinfeld made a complaint about something with sitcoms and not being able to get away with stuff?
Yes.
And that Mac from Always Sunny
Yeah.
replied, like Jerry did this hypothetical, how could you talk about this? And then Mac replied with a clip and was like, yeah, I don't know how.
Of Always Sunny, where they did literally exactly that thing. Yeah.
And he
right.
did, and he
Mac's another one who keeps it fucking
He keeps it real. And he also Jerry said that on like the day that Curb Your Enthusiasm had its finale. And now he made a point, which I guess I go, well, I guess I see where you're coming from. And a lot of people were saying, they're like, yeah, but like, you got to understand, Larry's show started in 2000 and South Park started in whatever. And and Always Sunny started a long time ago. And they go, we do have these shows that are kind of grandfathered in, but you know, if you're talking about like a new show that comes out doing it like that, I don't know that they exist. And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. You might be grasping.
Sounds like people complaining about I Love Lucy not being on TV anymore in the 90s.
I know. They are. And dude, but you know what the fucked up thing is? Like, I'm so glad you brought up I Love Lucy, because people constantly talk about like all the things you can't do on television anymore. And like, I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball, if she didn't have balls, then you would never see a couple sleeping in the same bed as each other. She's the first person that ever said pregnancy on fucking television. Like, those were the things. That was not some great time in television where you could do whatever you wanted. It was quite the opposite.
It was the total opposite.
It was the total opposite.
That's why this is such bullshit, man. Because in the 90s and 2000s, a lot of these same people would complain about how nasty things have gotten.
Dude.
Bart Simpson is teaching our kids the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. Everything is just too much. And we've got to get back to Christian and this and that. And then they started saying, well, we probably shouldn't make jokes about gay people. We probably shouldn't make the jokes about men in dresses. Like, what's automatically funny about that? And they were like, oh, well, you can't do nothing.
Exactly. It's a great point.
They just want to be validated because they're huge fucking pussies.
Right.
I went back to this. I went back to this when we did the Travis Kelce episode. We were talking about similar things. I think that we are on this podcast with WellRED in the corner right now, and Trae Crowder is what he is as an entity because of the fucking line, quit being a pussy and say what you mean.
Yeah.
That was the part of that video that launched you where no one could argue with that.
Right.
Even they were, matter of fact, that sentiment's what got them started on being against woke culture. Is a lot of these people were like, God damn, I am going to start saying what I mean, because they realized they were fucking afraid of bloggers.
Yeah.
Because they realized that they were shaking in their boots because someone was typing on a computer, because they're fucking pussies.
And dude, Seinfeld, when you're talking about the show Seinfeld, which like I'm not an expert on many things, but like I would say, you know, at least the Battle of Chickamauga in the Civil War, 90s professional wrestling, and the show Seinfeld. These are things that I could teach a fucking course on. Seinfeld, the show, everybody goes, oh, it's so funny that Seinfeld worries about cancel culture when he's never fucking, taken a stab at anything controversial at all. They did
Except the Palestinian.
Right. They did like even in the 90s on Seinfeld when they would make gay jokes or whatever, but like whenever they wanted to touch on a controversial topic, they had to, and brilliantly, by the way, because Larry David and all them, they were great writers. They had to tiptoe around it so much to get it on network television. Like they had an entire episode about masturbation. Didn't say the word masturbation one time. You know what I mean? They had an entire episode about Elaine and her boyfriend and their like abortion rights or whatever. They didn't really say the word abort. They danced around all of this so that like they could do the joke but not say the buzzwords. Whereas now, if you make those same episodes, they would say jacking off and masturbation and abortion and killing a kid or whatever. So like even then, when clearly you could do whatever you wanted, no, the fuck he couldn't. And like their writing staff was handcuffed to like, you can't say this on television. So if you want to make the joke, you have to do this. So it's just disingenuous bullshit to think there was ever some time where it was okay to do anything.
Drew alluded to this a minute ago when he was, saying like,
your talent.
Well, we started saying like when they started making fun of other types. Basically, what happened was for years and years and years, Christian white people were in control of everything in this country. And if you said anything that offended them, that was a problem. Like we've been talking about forever. It's what got Lenny Bruce put in jail. It's what got, all Lucy into hot water for pregnancy shit or whatever. All the
and
stuff
communism.
It's all the stuff you're just talking about was from Christian white people. But then once we got to a point where other types of people had enough of a voice to say, like, hey, I don't like that joke, then they were like, fucking cancel culture, you can't say nothing anymore.
But you're not the one that gets to say.
When they were the ones who were policing what you could say for forever. And it reminds me of this. I've told the story before many, many times, but I just think about it all the time because the more I think about it, the more I think it's like, I kind of think it's like the thing. And I know it's very simple, but like, in my old day job at the DOE, there was this lady there who I liked a lot. She was super conservative, super Christian. I guarantee you she's majorly into Donald Trump at this point. I haven't talked to her in years, but
fun time though.
But I loved her. Me and her got along. We used to argue with each other all the time, but in like a fun way. Like we genuinely liked each other, but we would, jaw at each other all the time about politics and religion and whatever else. And one day, we were in this training class, and
that's where you learn to be a train.
Yes, and it was like we were in contracts, so I don't even remember what the training course was, but I do remember the teacher at one point gave a hypothetical scenario. She goes, let's say the city of Oak Ridge passed a new law to make smoking outside illegal, right? What are some problems you could raise with a law like that? And I said, and I just blurted out, I said, this is America, right? Like just hitting, like just trying to be, I smoked at the time, so I did feel that way, but I was just hitting. I said, because this is America. And the lady I'm talking about was sitting right in front of me, and she like turned around and whispered over her shoulder. She goes, classic liberal. That's what she said, right? And it's like, I was like, that's the most conservative shit you've ever heard me say. I was like, that was super conservative. That's all about personal freedom and responsibility and all that shit.
And fuck everybody else.
But I realized it's like, but she don't smoke. She thinks smoking is gross. She goes to church and smoking is gross to her. So it's like anything that don't hit for them.
Right.
Is just liberal, which is bad. And anything that does hit for them is conservative, which is good. And it doesn't matter that there's no logical consistency. That's why they fall backwards into hypocrisy and irony and fucking, telling on themselves and all that shit all the time. That's why. It's because it really is just that simple for them, I think. If it hits for them, it's good, which is conservative and American. If it don't hit for them, it's bad, which is liberal and queer. And that's it. That's the whole thing.
Much like OnlyFans is like, to me, should be the model for like, hey, this is someone making money and you should be able to sell your body because it's yours. Like if you're coming from the libertarian standpoint, it's like, you should be able to do whatever it is the fuck that you want. It's your body, whatever. Like to me, that it does feel like that should be like a conservative thing, because if you replaced your pussy with a gun, they would love it. but because it's your pussy and your butthole, they're totally against it. You know what I mean?
My pussy with a gun. Hell yeah,
It would.
brother.
I mean, yeah, that sounds like something out of a Japanese cartoon. You know, lady
Replace
with a
your
pussy
pussy
for a
with a gun.
gun.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
you guys are now touching on the deal the GOP made, almost literally, with
The Southern Baptist
Christians.
Convention.
Yes.
Yeah, with the Falwells and with all those dudes. The basically backdoor handshake in North Carolina with the Grahams and all of them.
We will stop being freedom when it comes to a few sins if you'll join our team.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. And the funny thing is like I know you remember when that happened, Drew, because we were in church at that time. And
we've talked about this. This was a big difference. My church wasn't political, but go ahead.
No, mine. Listen, I remember when I was way younger, our pastor saying at one point, and this really stuck with me, even though I was really young. Like his whole thing was like, "It's not my job to be political," you know.
But I thought y'all did the Disney boycott.
Yeah, but that comes at the time of the Southern Convention thing. That's what I'm talking about, the flip, because I'm a couple years younger than you, you know. Yeah. But I remember like when I was way younger, it was like there was like it was like the I guess it would have been the Bush Clinton race, and the pastor was like, "Hey, my job is not to be political. My job is to pray for whoever gets elected." You know, he's like, it has nothing to do with it. I preach the word of God. The word of God is not political. The word of God says this. I'm here for all people. Like I remember, and then there's this huge shift with the Disney thing. And like looking back on it, that shift all came when there was that backdoor deal with the GOP party. And it's like all of a sudden churches got political. And the reason that we ended up moving church. It's funny. We ended up moving churches basically because of that, only to have my parents then basically become those people, which is crazy. But like the church that we went to after that,
culture,
like I will give them credit. Like I don't, dude, you know how I am. I'm like, fuck the church, whatever. But like they didn't get into any of that culture war shit. And I only went up until when I was in high school. I don't know what they're doing now, but I do know the pastor. I see him all the time in the park. He's actually a really good friend of mine. He's never once, when I see him in the park, been like, "You should come back to church. Why ain't you at church? You're not doing the right thing by being at church." Because to me, he's actually a really good dude. And like, he kind of practices what he preaches. But like, to my knowledge now, he's not getting up there and saying anything like, "Oh, if Joe Biden has his way, we're going against the word of God and we're going to bring on revelations." But like a lot of those small Southern Baptist churches immediately did that. And there was that clear distinction of like when the Falwells were like, "Hey, we can get all this money from the GOP party and then we will sort of like guide all these people into becoming your voters." Because like, let's not act like the South wasn't Democrat for a long time and then at least, you know, kind of 50-50 for a while.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because of slavery and all that.
Yeah,
and then the Southern strategy changed. But yes, there were, I mean, I come from a me, mom, pa, and dad, and everybody were all like Southern Democrats.
My papa was
like,
Democrat.
And like, my pa was probably like the old school racist type of Democrat, but like my dad and uncle weren't. They're like regular modern Democrats.
No, my papa was a Democrat because of unions and workers' rights. Right. That was 100% why he was a Democrat, and that's why I still think he would be a Democrat now. I really now I can't know this.
My dad switched. Of course, he retired, so he's not in the union anymore.
Well, actually, I mean, my grandpa, while also being racist, yes, that's why he was a Democrat too. But I've told the story before. I have a crystal clear memory from my childhood in my head of after NAFTA passed and we got word that the factory was leaving Salina. I can see my grandpa walking into his office. I was sitting there eating nachos, being fat or whatever, and he walks in holding a newspaper that presumably has some story about this on it, and he throws it on the counter and he goes, "I'll never vote for another Democrat as long as I live." Mm-hmm. And like, so. That also happened. I mean, Salina was a blue county for like most of the past 100 years and everything. And then the factory left. The Clintons got blamed for that, and then Trump's whole rhetoric and all that. And now there's like 4 Democrats in Clay County, and Uncle Tim's one of them.
That's what my papa did. That's what my papa did, but with being a Tennessee fan.
I get that.
Yeah, whenever they hired what's his face?
Philip Fulmer
over what's his face?
After they fucked over Johnny Majors?
After they fucked over Johnny Majors, he basically came in with the newspaper and said, we're never again. And he went and burnt all of his Tennessee shit and said, and was like, what's the opposite of Tennessee? Georgia, go fucking dogs. And that's why I'm a Dogs fan
and
out of hate.
Saved your family from
He
generations
did.
of
He
anguish.
sure did.
We don't have time for this, but
Sure we do. Go ahead.
I do think it's interesting. What about our role in the culture war? Do you guys reflect on that at all?
We don't hit hard enough.
Yeah,
2016 was such a wild time. Did you guys think about that? Is there anything you do differently?
No, there's definitely nothing I do differently.
I mean,
I'm like sick of it.
I don't know. I don't even know what I would have done differently. But last time we were at Zany's at Christmas, this came up kind of. One thing I have lamented is I never understood because I didn't pay enough attention to it probably, and I didn't listen to it. But there was a thing that emerged around that time. Some huge podcasts and some hugely popular people. It was called the Dirtbag Left, and it became a big thing. And like I've kind of often wondered how we missed that boat.
We didn't take advantage
because y'all don't fucking listen to me.
Yeah,
I've been talking about these motherfuckers all the time.
I know,
but
I think,
I don't know.
But hey, it took them until other than Cumtown, which is only sort of associated with it, and then like the real political nerd ones. It kind of took a lot of them until very recently to like they were a lot of like. There's the people we know now like Stavros. Yeah. Who's like hitting and got a sweet special on Netflix, and I don't think ever lost his integrity or his leftist principles, but also was hanging out with the people who were saying, racist stuff. But there's like, I'm up to 8 thinking of people who were in that mode right now who are like homeless dog. So I don't think we missed a wave.
Okay.
Listen, I'll tell you how.
I guess I just think of Stavros, and that's what makes me think that. Yeah.
Me and Trae were texting earlier about some POA stuff. You can. I wasn't actually going to bring up the actual thing, but if you want to, you can, and then I'll make my point.
No, it doesn't matter. I'll text her about it.
Either way. We were basically lamenting all these like shots that we didn't shoot whenever it was 2016. And there's part of me that goes, yeah, man, like, I don't know. There's some things in which we really didn't put our foot on the gas. And I'm like, but we didn't really realize you were supposed to or whatever. And there's part of me now that goes like, man, we sure did leave a lot of money on the table, or like, God, we were right there in this fucking whatever. But then there's also like a huge part of me that is like, real glad, me personally, because like this is the most we've talked about, quote unquote, the culture war on this podcast in a very long time. And I know that don't hit for our fans. Like I know that they would rather us probably do that every week. And I'm not saying we don't ever talk about it, but like knowing that if I'd have pushed a couple things harder, I would have to be doing it all the time, or like, I don't know, like I'm glad to be known as like the cheese boy. You know what I mean? I might not have a million.
Well, my main thing with it is like I'm not just saying this, and maybe I'm just too stupid, but like I don't look. There's nothing I can point to really and be like,
that was wrong.
That's where I should have not done that. I wish I'd have done this instead. As far as what we are talking, there's some show business things like I should have got into acting classes immediately or whatever. But like the shit we are talking about. I don't have anything I can point to and be like, why did I do that? I fucked that up.
I don't know if it's me. I just felt more. Well, first of all, let me say, like, I mean, I was going on Trillbillies and all that stuff. Like, those were my people and
great people.
Me and DJ do have a lot of, I think, sort of Dirtbag Left and Dirtbag Left associated fans with Gravy Baby and Carmen now. And I didn't do it for fans. I did it because I felt more at home there. But I was thinking more like, for me, I don't regret any of it, but it is sort of, I guess it's just wild to think about how the way I'm sick of it now, I do wish I'd have maybe got out earlier or observed it for what it is. I wish I'd have realized what game I was playing. I was, and I hope this is true of you, and honestly, I hope it's true of some people on the other side. I think I was playing from the heart.
Yeah,
and like
I feel you.
But this is the entertainment industry, dude.
Yeah, right. No,
you know what I mean.
Thank you. That's a great point, because there's so many times that like I could do that, but I don't feel like doing that, which means that I would straight up be just phoning it in or whatever. And like, I don't know. And I do think I've left a lot of money on the table, but I kind of just do whatever it is. And by the way, all my fans are still, I would say 99.999% leftist, because I make it very clear who the fuck I am. And I don't want, like, I would never be like, I try to play it in the middle ground because I want everybody's money. Like, I don't give a fuck about that shit at all. It just gets so unnerving. Like when I see Nick Fuentes put up a fucking something and I'm like, so I'm supposed to say the opposite of that and be like him to be successful. And I'm like, dude, fuck that shit.
You saw him got caught jacking off to gay porn?
Yeah, that hit. I mean, I do believe that it was a hacker, probably, but I think that hacker hits.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, I say we close it up, and I need to tell the good people come see me at Buffalo and Pittsburgh this weekend. Then me and Drew will be together in Virginia after that, and then the lovely boy Donnie Singstack will be with me in Florida after that, and then a bunch of other places, all at TraeCrowder.com. Check it out.
I am going to be with Trae. I'm also going to do Radford, Virginia, on the way to meet Trae. That was by myself. Radford's kind of a small town, but if you're near there, come see me. I'm going to be in Bristol, Tennessee. I'm going to be in Atlanta. I'm going to be in Nashville. That's on a Wednesday, and I'm nervous about it. Please make me unnervous by buying tickets on June 25th. Corey Forster's going to be opening. That's at Drew Morgan Comedy. I just made
Where
that at? Zany's at DrewMorganComedy.com.
I mean, I will if you want me to.
Yeah, you can come to Zany's June 25th. June 25th, Corey Forster's opening for me at Zany's.
Unless that's when we're in Disney, I mean, I'll fucking absolutely come.
I think that's all my dates for June. It's the child support tour. You guys know what bills I got to pay. You know what an adorable young man I'm leaving behind to come hang out with y'all, so come hang out with me.
Yeah, bonuscorey.com for me. Just put up a new essay on cicadas. The audio essay just went up. I do at least 2 long-form rants weekly. Of course, we've got Pastor Petey every single Sunday. And of course, 3 clicks and a hick. I'm doing a lot of shit over there. Bonuscorey.com. It's a lot of fun. You can sign up for free. You can do the $5 a month thing. Either way is fine. Obviously, you hit harder for me if you give me money, but that's whatever. Also, we actually don't know when. I don't know when it's going to be, but if you hear this, keep your eyes on Paul Feinbaum this week, because I think me and Trae are going on fucking Feinbaum. Isn't that correct? Or did I dream that?
I mean, that's how I understand it too, but it's not with Paul. It's with a guest host who's our boy. But yeah.
But I'll be bald. I'm going to be Paul Feinbaum.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll still have the bald quota covered. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be tomorrow.
Cool.
Wednesday.
So if you're hearing this, it's today. Listen to the Paul Feinbaum show. Me and Trae will be on there talking about our book and POA and shit like that with our buddy Braden. And also, if I may, thank you all for listening to the WellRED Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you. God bless you. Good night and skew.
Skew. Whoop.